Welcome to today's presentation. We're going to be talking all about how you can wholesale real estate in Canada. So stay tuned, guys. If you're new to the page, my name is Jefferson Ortiz. We're from Hamilton, Ontario, and we have been wholesaling since 2021. So it is absolutely a doable business. It's probably one of the best times to do this business. So without further ado, let's get right into it, guys. All right. Give it a second here while I load my page. All right, guys. So today's presentation, again, is going to be how to wholesale real estate in Canada in 2026. This is a beginner's guide on how we build our seven-figure off-market real estate business right here in Canada, and we've also now expanded to the U.S. All right. So the first thing that most people don't know is that this actually exists in Canada. A lot of the people tend to think that this is only in the US, that you cannot do this in Canada, but we've been doing this successfully since 2021. So these are some of the key factors that you need to know if you're looking to wholesale real estate right here in Canada. The first thing is you do not need a realtor license. Why? Because you're not buying and selling real estate, but you're assigning your rights to the contract. So that's the very most common thing that we always hear is, do I need a license? And you do not need a real estate or a mortgage license because you are not buying and selling real estate. Second thing we hear, you need a mortgage license, or do you need a mortgage? No, you do not need a mortgage because we're not actually buying the properties, but we're making the sellers an offer, and then we're assigning that contract that we have with the seller to a buyer or to an investor. So for that reason, you don't need to get a mortgage. You don't need a ton of capital. You don't need a license. Third common thing that we hear is, do I need renovation money or do I need a perfect credit score? No and no. You do not need renovation money because, again, you are not buying the property, but you're simply making an offer to the seller to purchase the property, and then we're turning over and then we're selling that contract or assigning that contract to an investor. Therefore, you're not going to be using your own money for renovation, and your credit doesn't really matter because you're not going to be purchasing the property. You're simply making an offer to the seller, you have purchase and sell agreement, and then we're finding an investor for that, and then assigning our rights of the contract to an investor. Now, if you're brand new to wholesaling, or maybe you've heard about it in the US, what is wholesaling anyways, right? So this is what step-by-step is in terms of what is wholesaling in Canada specifically. So step number one, find and lock, right? So what I mean by that is you always got to start with the three pillars of a wholesaling in Canada is the following. Finding a motivated seller. So finding somebody who is distressed, who is motivated. They could be going through a divorce. They could have a death in the family. Maybe they inherit the property and the property is in really bad shape. Therefore, they're motivated. So that's key number one. You need to find motivated sellers. Second thing is, once you have a seller and you've qualified and you've had a conversation with them, we're going to move to step number two, which is you got to lock up the property on the contract. What do I mean by that is you got to make an offer to the seller via purchase and sell agreement, get them to accept that. And obviously, there's lawyers that are involved usually when it comes to the contract. So we're not lawyers, we're not giving legal advice. But there is a purchase and sell agreement that has to be done with the seller directly. Once that happens, again, there's no money down required. There's no down payment, nothing like that, right? So that's step number one is find the seller, qualify the seller, make the seller an offer via purchase and sell agreement, have the right clauses and conditions in there. And again, you do not need to have any money down. That's step number one. Now we move over to pillar and step number two, which is assign the contract to an investor. So in this part, what we are going to do is once we have a purchase and sell agreement with the seller, we're going to move to step number two, which is finding an investor, finding a buyer, finding somebody who wants to buy that property. And the reason they're going to buy it is because it's below market value. Now we're going to then assign that contract to an investor, or basically connect the buyer and the seller in terms of the wholesale transaction, right? So essentially the way that it looks like is the seller, we make an offer to the seller via purchase and sell agreement, and then we then assign that contract and our rights of the contract to an investor into a buyer. Now, step number three, collect, cash and collect, right? This is one of the most exciting parts of the process, which is the deal has closed, you have assigned the contract to the buyer has now officially closed on the property. The lawyer that you use for the transaction is going to wire you a check for whatever the difference. So if you got the property with the seller for $200,000, we sell it for $220,000 or $230,000, your wholesale fee would be between $20,000 to $30,000, and the lawyers are typically going to wire that into your account. So that is the best part of it, is collect assignment fee via wholesale fee. Typically, fees can range anywhere from about 10 upwards of about $100,000 if you're dealing with a really good deal, or if you're dealing with multifamily or land development. Again, there is no renovation needed because we are not buying the contracts, we're not buying the properties ourselves, but we're simply making an offer to the seller, finding an investor or buyer, and connecting them. That is your job as a wholesaler. So no license, no school needed, no big money. Very, very simple. It's one of the best businesses to do in 2026. Now, give you guys a little bit of history on one of our first wholesale deals. This was a single family property in Welland where we got it via flyers. So we sent out a bunch of flyers. We got a seller that called us, said, hey, I really want to sell because I'm going through a divorce and I do not want to I don't want to sell my property. I want to sell my property because of this reason. They were going through they're very motivated. They've had the property 15, 20 years, so they had a lot of built-in equity. And so what we did is, like I said, we send out flyers, we got a call back, we talked to the seller, and then we were able to look at the numbers, look at what other properties were selling in the area, and then we were able to make them an offer for $200,000. Now, once we did that, we made an offer for $200,000. We went back and forth a little bit with the seller. There's a little bit of negotiation, but once the seller accepted our offer of $200,000, we moved to step number 2, which is we found a local fix and flipper. So somebody who buys properties, fix them up, and renovates them locally here in Welland. They looked at the property. We basically had pitched it to them for $254,000, which is still a really good deal because fixed up and renovated, it was worth around $500,000. There's still a lot of margins. Now, when we did that, the buyer looked at the property, walked through the property, liked everything. We assigned our rights to the contract, and then on closing date, we got paid $54,000, which is almost the salary of a Canadian in Canada. So, guys, this is an amazing business. There's a ton of opportunity. The market is open for grab, and there's never been a better time with AI and automation. So this lead came in from a flyer. We buy houses, simple flyer. And that deal changed everything for us because it opened up the gates of what was really possible. And fast forward to today, 2026, we run a 7-figure wholesale business where we do deals all over Canada, Alberta, Ontario, BC, Saskatchewan, Nova Scotia, and we've also expanded down to the US. So we also do a significant amount of transactions in the US. We also wholesale houses, land, multifamily, land development. I mean, you name it, we probably wholesale it. So that is the power of wholesale. That is why this is one of the best businesses to get into in 2026 if you're in Canada. Now, keep in mind, you can also do this completely virtually in the US, which is something that we also do as well. So again, one deal, $54,000. Now ask yourself, if you were to do a deal and it was $54,000, what would that do for you? What would it do for your family? What would it do for the people around you? Ask yourself that question. Now, the main question that we always get is like, okay, well, how do I find these off-market deals here in Canada? So one of the places that you can find these leads, and this is completely free, by the way, what I'm sharing here, Facebook Marketplace. So in Facebook Marketplace, you can browse, you can look for motivated sellers who are looking to sell quick without an agent. So you want to scroll up, you want to see who are buying, who are the investors, what are they buying? Sorry, who are the sellers, what are they buying? Look at the condition of the property, how long have they had it for? So there is a bit of a qualification, but Facebook Marketplace is a great place to find deals. Second one, Kijiji and Driving for Dollars. Kijiji is one of my favorite ways to find leads for free. There's no cost, and there's a ton of leads all over Canada of sellers that are looking to sell their property. So that is Kijiji. Same thing as Facebook. You go through, you can look and see who are the motivated sellers, who are the sellers, why are they selling, qualifying them, and then making them an offer. Now, one of my favorite ones is actually Driving for Dollars. So this is where you get in your car and you drive around your local area and you look for ugly properties, distressed, tall grass, boarded up windows, or just really bad, ugly properties. Now remember this, you want to find the good property in a really bad neighborhood, in a really bad area. My apologies, the opposite way. You want to find a really bad property in a really good area. That's the goal. When you find a property that is distressed, but all the properties around are really good, that is what you're looking for. That is where the gold is made. So Facebook, which is also for sale by owner, properties online, and that's one of the best ways that you can start today if you wanted to get your first wholesale deal in the next 30 days. Now, like I said, one of our favorite ones is direct mail. That is by far one of our favorite marketing strategies. So sending out flyers to owners of properties that they're looking to that may be motivated in wanting to sell. There's realtors as well. Realtors and AI, obviously, 2026, we've added AI, implementing AI to our business in a massive way. So that allows us to build and automate systems to find motivated sellers. But guys, these are three ways in which you can find motivated sellers today if you want to get your first deal in the next 30 days or so. Now, again, we're kind of more closer to this side because of where the business is and how long we've been doing this. All right. Now we're going to talk about what are some of the best wholesaling markets in Canada. Okay. So the first one we have here is Alberta. Alberta is booming. Alberta is on fire. So there's markets like Edmonton, Calgary, Red Deer, Medicine Hat, Lethbridge. These are some hot markets. So Alberta is one of the top markets. It has strong fundamentals, strong cash flow, and lots of people with a lot of equity, which is what you want. Another market that we like in Ontario, so Alberta would be one of our top markets. Ontario would be I'd say our second. Between Alberta and Ontario, they're pretty close. But I'd say Alberta, Ontario would be our second market. Places like Hamilton, Windsor, Niagara, Sudbury, Cambridge, Kitchener, Waterloo, London. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of opportunity, tremendous amount of markets that are really good. Now, other markets that I didn't put in here that I definitely want to highlight is Saskatchewan. In Saskatchewan, there is Saskatoon, which is one of the best markets for flipping. There's also Regina in Saskatchewan, right? Other markets that, again, didn't make the list here, but I want to point out Nova Scotia, Halifax, great, solid market, lots of sellers, lots of motivated sellers, lots of activity. So when you're looking for a market, you want to make sure there's a lot of activity, right? There's a lot of buyers buying, investors, development. Another market that is really, really good that we like, that again, it's not in the list here, is Winnipeg, Manitoba. Winnipeg, Manitoba is a really good market. Price points are very, very low. So there's a tremendous amount of opportunity. So guys, there's opportunities everywhere. We like Alberta, we like Ontario, we like Nova Scotia, we like Saskatchewan. We also really like Winnipeg. Those are some of the top markets that we usually recommend. BC is a good market. Obviously, price points are different, but BC is also a really, really good market. Lots of opportunity, lots of development happening in BC. So these are some of the top markets to get started in wholesale real estate today in Canada. Now, Canada versus US, this is something very common because a lot of the information is more US based. So Canada is still very underrated in our opinion, and there's a lot less competition, which is one of the main things we have here. There's a tremendous amount of opportunity because investors are still buying where the numbers make sense. It is somewhat relationship based, and information is not shared as much as in the US. Now, in the US, some of the advantages, of course, right, more data, but that also comes with a lot more competition, and there has been a lot more regulation happening throughout the whole US. So that seems to be a trend that's happening where they ask you to get a license if you're going to wholesale real estate. We don't see the same trend happening in Canada. So Canada is still tremendous amount of opportunity when it comes to wholesale real estate comparison to the US. Now, why this works, right? So, wholesaling is always going to work as long as there's motivated sellers, as long as people are going through some sort of distress, which is always happening no matter what the economy is. There will always be homeowners who need to sell quick. They know they could sell it on the MLS, but they don't want to go that route. They want to go the off-market route. So that'll always happen. In flippers, developers, they're always buying. So that's why this system always works no matter what is going on in the economy. You just always adjust your purchase price because, again, you're finding deals, you're connecting them with investors, and that is your job. Now, I just want to point out something really quickly. Wholesaling is the start point. We started with wholesaling, and now we built a 330 multifamily unit portfolio. So you never really know where wholesaling is going to take you. It could be the start of something massive, but obviously wholesaling is a great way to get into the game. If you're new, or even if you're experienced, it's a great way to build cash flow. Now, these are some real results. Since we started back in 2021, we've done well over 200 deals. So we've done this all over Canada, all over the US. Like I mentioned earlier, we built a 330 multifamily unit portfolio across Canada and in the US. We've also built a massive database of investors where we have about 50,000 investors all over Canada. And then over the last 2 years, we've been actually teaching and coaching and mentoring one-on-one students. And we've gone little bit over 100 students that have gone their first deal. So that is kind of who we are and what we're all about. We're very passionate about this business, and there's a tremendous, tremendous opportunity for people that are ready to capitalize on the opportunity. Now, if this is you, you're like, okay, I like what I heard. This is really good. I want to get into it. I can see a lot of potential with it. What we can help you with is everything from start to finish, because we've gone through so many transactions. We're still very active in the industry. Again, we have over 50,000 buyers in our buyers list that are ready to buy. They're hungry. They want deals. What we can help you with, if you're just getting started, or if you want to help scale to your, to another level, we can help you with the contracts. We can help you with the buyers. We can help you with negotiation, with the systems to generate those motivated seller leads, and also, again, 2026. Implementing AI to your business for the follow-up, for the, every part of the business can really be automated with AI and automation. So that is another thing where we can add a massive value. So again, if you're getting started, or if you have experience, but you really want to build this wholesaling machine, we can definitely help out. Now, we don't work with everybody. This isn't for everybody. That's why I create a lot of content on YouTube. This is for anybody who's ready to step in. They have the right attitude. They have a lot of, a big drive behind them, whether it's their family or, their community, right? We want to work with the right people, right? This is for people that are ready to take action, right? That are in the right mindset, right? So again, we don't work with everybody. So, but if you do want to learn a little bit more, or potentially even book a free call to understand a little bit more about how this all works and see if it's actually a good fit for you, because it might not be a good fit for you, right? So we want to make sure that it's a good fit for everybody. If you are interested, if this, we added some value throughout this call, and you want more hands-on experience, you want the contracts, you want every step-by-step that, we've been creating over the last, 5 to 6 years, what I would encourage you to do is book a free strategy call with our team to better see if we can help and how we can help, right? We'll walk you through how it all works out. We'll walk you through everything that you have questions about. So book a free call. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe and share this. Share this with anybody who you think we could add tremendous value. All right, guys, that's the end of this YouTube. Also, put on the comments anything that you guys want to learn about, anything you want me to make videos about, so we can keep adding massive value, guys. Guys, remember, AI will not take your job, but somebody who knows how to use AI will take your job. So just remember that, guys. Cheers, guys.